But welcome to tonight's program. Reservists on duty is on the front line defending freedom and the Jewish state, both as members of the Israeli Defense Forces and as ambassadors now who travel around the world telling the true story of Israel and its desire for peace for all people. They play a unique role fighting back against anti-Semitism on university campuses and at public forums around the world with a fresh perspective being from minority communities and religions within Israel. They understand the unique role that the State of Israel plays as the only true democracy in the Middle East. We want to thank the coordinator of the organization of Texas, Avi White, and also we want to thank Bobby Guinness for putting this together, and we want to extend a warm welcome to our speakers. But first, also I'd like to mention about the program coming up on Saturday, Shabbat, October 20th. There's flyers in the back, and this is Dr. Yoram Hazoni. He's going to be a scholar in residence here, and he's going to be speaking about the virtue of nationalism. Dr. Hazoni argues that nationalism is the issue of our age, and he has a book about it that, Wall Street Journal, different places have already, reviewed his book and different things that he's done. So that is Shabbat, October 20th. But without further ado, we're going to have the speakers introduce themselves and get the program underway.
Thank you, Rabbi, and I would like to thank as well Bobby for arranging this, and Abby White. I would like to begin with thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate that, and we're really looking forward to share with you our stories. I will begin to talk a bit about myself and the organization that we are working with. Can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Jonathan El-Khouri. I am 26 years old, and I'm the minorities coordinator for the organization Reservists on Duty. As the rabbi mentioned at the beginning, this organization was built in order to make sure that there's someone there on the field fighting the good fight, but not in an apologetic, not in an apologetic way. Because, for example, one of the main things that we do in the organization is go to college campuses where there is a huge anti-Israeli opposition, like campuses that they have a huge SJP chapter, the Student Justice for Palestine. For example, right now we have another group from Reservists on Duty, and Nizal, one of the fourth speaker that was supposed to be with us, he's now over there. They suddenly decided to do an apartheid week in a university in Tampa, in Florida. They contacted us and they said, listen, we need help in order to refute the lies said by the SJP chapter, and we don't really have people who can actually go there, stand the whole day in front of them and face their lies. And we were really happy to gather around a group of about 4 people in 2 days and fly them to Tampa to be there on the ground and say to everyone that what the Student for Justice in Palestine is saying about Israel is a complete lie. And come listen to the truth. They're having a panel right now, so I really wish that their panel will go good and there will be no disruptions. I'm sure that we're going to have an amazing event here and no one will disrupt our event as well. But this is the thing that we're doing. Seeing that on college campuses they have so many false information about Israel, especially the minorities living in Israel. For example, they think that Israel is only Jews, or there's only a few minorities that are being controlled by this Zionist entity that is colonizing the area that is supposed to be Palestine. This is only like a few of the descriptions that they say about Israel. And some of them even think that we don't really have our rights, that we don't have our voices, that we don't have any way to be able to live our life as we want. And we built this amazing group in order to just go all over, share our stories as Israeli minorities. Everyone here in the panel have his own unique story of how he is connected to the state of Israel in a way. And I'm really glad that we're able to do this because I see many fresh faces that I didn't see 2 years ago when I was here with another panel with the reservists from the IDF as well. And I see a lot of young people that you're going to be our voices on campuses in the future. And a lot of people here that have kids that are going to college campuses in the future. So I really hope that we will give you a lot of information for you to have and for you to share. So how I got involved in this. My father was an officer in the South Lebanon Army. I was born in Lebanon, and during that time, Israel was in South Lebanon, fighting next to the South Lebanon Army that was established in 1982 because the Christians in South Lebanon asked that. The civil war started and the Christians started to be persecuted by extremists, and seeing that the Jews are being persecuted from the same people that we are suffering from, we said that it's about time to join forces together to fight side by side in order to have our freedom in the future. Unfortunately, it didn't really work. And in 2000, Israel decided to withdraw from South Lebanon, letting eventually Hezbollah take control over all of the south, and today over the government and over everywhere in Lebanon. And Hassan Nasrallah just said that he's going to persecute everyone that was part of the South Lebanon Army, and Israel gave us the opportunity to flee and find shelter in Israel. That's why, by the way, my father is alive today, because he would have been persecuted by Hezbollah, and I'm thankful for that. In 2001, a year and a half after my father fled Lebanon, my mom, brother, and I, we joined to him in Israel. We flew through Cyprus, then from Cyprus, we went to Israel. At the beginning, we were really accepted by the Israeli society. But in a way, we found ourselves in the middle. We weren't accepted by the Arab society in Israel because they said that we're traitors because we worked with Israel. And today, I can understand why did they think that, because they didn't really have any information about what happened in Lebanon at these times. We never fought against the Lebanese government. We never fought against the Lebanese people. We only fought against terrorist organizations who were actually controlling the government and persecuting our lives. And they didn't have that. They didn't have that information. They didn't have anyone to share it in the media with. And eventually today, because we kept on telling our story, we kept on sharing what we went through, today there is more understanding about the situation. But on the other hand, we weren't Jews as well. So we were kind of in the middle of things. But the good thing that happened that we were accepted in the Jewish schools. I was the only Arab-speaking kid in my whole school when I was in 4th grade. But they took me as a project. Every other day, a teacher, her name was Aviva, she was the grammar teacher of the school. It's a small school, so she taught everyone. She used to take me in a different hour and a different day to teach me Hebrew. It took me only 3 months to learn to speak fluent Hebrew. I really wanted to speak with someone. As you see, I speak a lot. So I really wanted that. After that, when we went to middle school and high school, the school decided that they want us to know that we are welcome, that this is our home. So they decided that in the National Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers of the IDF and those who were killed by terror attacks, that we will have the opportunity to read a prayer for the South Lebanon Army fallen soldiers right after they scope for the IDF soldiers. I was doing that for 6 years in my school. And from that point, I think that the people in the South Sudan Army children my age really felt that we are being understood, that they know what we went through, and that they're accepting us, and they're welcoming us, and they're opening their arms for us. That's, by the way, why I'm doing all this today, because I feel kind of an obligation to thank and do something to protect the country that have protected me all these years. When I turned 18, I had the opportunity to serve in the IDF. Lorena and Yusuf are going to talk about it, so I'm not going to elaborate on it. But the South Sudan Army children received a draft to the IDF at the age of 17. But we have the opportunity to do a national service. So I did a national service for 2 years in Rum Facility Hospital. It's in Haifa. And my brother did 3 years of a military service. The reason that, although we are not obligated to do so, 95% of the South Sudan Army children today join the Army or the National Service. Because we see ourselves as part of a society, a bigger society that now we are part of. That we need to do something in order to contribute to the society that we live in order to make sure that this society thrives and become a better place for all of us to live in. And that's what driven us all. That's what driven us all to come here as well to speak and share with you our stories. Every one of Lorena and Yusuf are activists in their own community to make the community's life better and eventually to make Israel even better. I feel like Trump, make Israel great again. But that's actually what is driving us, and we're really happy to do so because we see a better future. We know that in order to do that, we need to work together, all of the communities. That's why we have a bigger group with a mixed identities, with a mixed backgrounds. Everyone is working in his own way in order to make his community better. And I'm going to stop talking now because I can continue for an hour and a half. Because I really want to let the other participants speak, and we want to hear questions from you as well. So I would like to pass the microphone to Lorena Khatib. Lorena is a Druze from Kufr Smeh village in the north of Israel, and she's going to share her story and the Druze community story in Israel.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you for coming and having us here. My name is Lorena Khatib. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Smeh village. It's a village in the north of Israel. I'm a BA student at Haifa University. I study sociology, anthropology, and political science. And I work today. Okay, I'm Druze and I'm Druze woman. So I work today as a coordinator of a project called the Youth and Studying and Working Youth. I'm responsible for teenagers that do a national service. I work also with the autistic children. I have to say that it's the most superior thing that I do. I volunteer also in a reservist on duty. This is my 5th tour.
And she has a birthday today.
Oh, I forgot. We should sing.
I came from a military family background. My dad was a warden for 37 years, and my brother also works in the army career. In our society and community, only men can and should do the army service. Women can be part of the field activities. So I did a 1 year of national service in the Druze Youth Organization. The main goal of this organization was to advocate the leadership values of the teenagers and to become closer to the Israeli society and to teach them Israeli pride and how to be leaders in the future. So I will speak a little bit about the Druze community. have anybody ever heard about the Druze community?
Oh! These are all Israeli.
First time. Okay, so we are an Arab-speaking community that they have split from the Shia Ismaili. It's a group of Muslims in the 11th century. In Israel, we resemble more than 100,000 citizens, and the others are residents of the Golan Heights. And we are also called the Muwahhidun, or Bani Ma'ruf, according to the belief that we believe in one God. So Muwahhidun in Arabic, Wahad means, in English, Wahad means one. And the holy towns of the Druze community are in southern Lebanon, in Syria, and in Israel, but the majority are in Israel. And every teen Druze citizen have to join to the army, beside religious men and women, and women can't be like a part of the army. Since 1956, when the sheikh, the leader of the Druze community, have signed an agreement with the government that every 18 Druze citizen have to join to the army. So every year, 85% of the Druze community join to the army. This number is higher more than the Jewish community in Israel. So the Druze community was integrated very well in the Israeli society. And for me, like, as a representative of a minority within a minority, first as a woman, second as a Druze, I have to say that life as a minority is very challenging and amazing in my point of view. But in the one side, I don't like the idea that people categorize me as a loyal Druze because we do the army service or national service and we keep the land. And many Druze soldiers were killed in the battlefields. Like the Druze community have sacrificed more than 400 soldiers in the battlefields. But on the other side, I can say that unlike other communities, we give all of our debts and we get all of our rights. So there is no place in the whole world that the Druze community can express themselves or can feel independent, like in Israel. Israel was the first country that have recognized the Druze community as a unique religion. I have to say always that in our tours we always try to show and to share the truth from the ground. Like, Israel is not perfect like any other country, but I think that the most important thing that we have this right to come here and to speak about our community and to defend our homeland. I have faced a lot of misleading conceptions about Israel, so we all felt responsible to defend our homeland and to do it. And we always say, as a quote from our friend, that in our country we fight for our communities, and abroad, like, we fight for our country. So it's very, very important. And I want to sum up that every one of us have a message to pass it. So if there is a message for me, I think that it's important to pass this, promoting the status of women in our society, because in every Arab culture there is no equality between women and men. In our, sorry?
That's good.
Tradition still occupies a huge part of the Arab society. So even being here and standing in front of you all, it's one of our limitations. So I think that it's time to lead this change, and it's time to work for it, and to be an integral part of the society, or to lead a change. You have to do something. You can't sit at home and say that I want to change this and to change it. So it's so important. And I think in a state like in Israel, we can do it because we have the right to break the silence and to do whatever we want. So I want to sum up my speech by quoting the 10th Prime Minister, a sentence that says Israel is a villa in the jungle, and I really believe it. Thank you.
I'm really happy to present Yusuf Haddad from Nazareth, and he's going to share his story.
Thank you. So far it was easy for you, but I'm going to move right and left, and you will understand in a bit why I'm doing that. First of all, good evening to all of you. My name is Yosef Haddad. I am 33 years old, although I look younger than no birthday for me, but my hair is still good, so I'm in a good position. I was born in Haifa. 2 years later, we moved to Nazareth, the biggest Arabic city in Israel. And we moved because my father is a priest, so we had to move to the community that he was managing in a village called Yafa. In Hebrew, it's Yafia. It's a very close village to Nazareth. So we moved there, and close to Nazareth, you have a city like Nazareth Elite, Migdal HaEmek, Afula, which they are mostly a Jewish city. So I had the opportunity to have friends, Arab Muslim friends, Arab Christians like me, and Jewish friends and Druze. So I got the whole cake. I mean, everybody was my friend, and I was happy that I have friends. So that's amazing. And through the years, I found that I really like my country. And when my friends, my Jewish friends, came to the age of 17 and a half, they got the duty order for the IDF, and I didn't get it. So before I tell you what happens, I want to explain to you a little bit about the communities that there's in Israel. So in Israel, I'm sure that most of you know that the Jewish people and the Druze are obligated to draft to the army at the age of 18. But the Arabs, the Muslims, and the Christians are not. So if they want to volunteer, if they want to draft the army, they needed to talk to the army and tell them, hey, we want to volunteer to the army. So that's exactly what I did. I called them and I asked them to volunteer. The reason why I did that is because I felt that I needed to defend my country, I felt that I needed to serve my country, and I felt that it's my duty to get back and to do that. But there's one point in a significant point in my life that I said I am doing the right thing, and unfortunately it was a sad point in my life, because it was on the 4th of October 2003. A suicide bomber came into the Maximum restaurant in Haifa, and damn terrorist, she blew the restaurant and killed 17 civilians. 4 of them were Arabs, Israeli Arabs. So I thought to myself, I'm not defending Israel or the Jewish state or the Jewish people. I'm defending all Israelis. And by defending all Israelis, it's me as a Christian Arab, it's Lorraine Druze, it's Jewish, it's Muslims, Bedouin, and Cherkess. And I'm defending Israelis, and we're all Israelis. So I was definitely sure of my step. And when I volunteered to the army, I said to them, I want to be in Golani Brigade. By the way, the best brigade in the IDF, just so you know. And so when they called me, when I called the army, they said, listen, this is the army. You cannot ask for something and expect to get it. I mean, come on. I said, well, I don't have to draft them. So 3 days later, they said, okay, if everything's okay, you will be in Golani, and I'm happy to tell you I am Golanchik. That's how we say that. So I drafted to Golani, and through the years, I also did a commander course in the army, and it was very funny because they say that apartheid in Israel, and they say there's, funny that I'm a commander, Arab Israeli commander on a Jewish soldier, so in the IDF. So I mean, come on, are you kidding me? Apartheid. So after that, I continued my services, and usually when you serve, it's 3 years that you need to get. But I didn't do 3 years. I did only 2 years and 10 months, because 2006, the Second Lebanon War started, and 4 days before before the ceasefire, and 1 month before my duty was ended, I was badly injured in the war. It was on the 10th of August when me and my crew were in a shelter in Bijbel. It's a village in south of Lebanon. And suddenly we got a call that a tank that was about half a mile from us got hit by an anti-tank missile. So my mission was with my crew to go and rescue the tank crew. I'm happy to say that we did that. We took them from there and managed to rescue them. And but it took us a little bit more than we thought. And then the sun came, so we had a light, a daylight. So when we came back to our shelter, the same missile that was hit by the tank missile, Hezbollah organization, the terrorist organization, decided to shoot that rocket on me. Obviously, they didn't hit me, otherwise I would be like in 2,000 pieces, but I will tell you exactly how many pieces I stayed. Not one, but eventually what happened is they actually see, because they took a photo from the airplane, and you see like a black dot coming closer to me, and just passing my back, hitting a wall was very next to me, close to me. From the explosion, I flew in the air and landed on my stomach, and I understand that I was injured. I understand that I got injured. I got injured in my face. I felt the heat of the blood. I felt that I'm in pain. I'm in hurt. But while I am on the ground, I kept just thinking about one thing, and that's what I'm gonna say to my mom now. I mean, come on. So that's the only thing that I was concerned about. So I turn on my back and I see that my leg is next to me and not attached to my body. So if you're asking why I'm moving, because I like the feeling of moving, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And you're gonna keep moving your eyes with me. So my crew rescued me in a really fast way. And another funny fact, while they're rescuing me to the chopper, they put me like on their shoulders and start running towards the checkpoint where the chopper was waiting, and rockets and bullets flying above us, and I don't know why, but I started singing, and I sung, "Don't worry, be happy." And while I'm singing that, my soldiers are singing that with me, and we are just like running from the bullets, and we said, "Don't worry, be happy." And I'm happy to tell you that until today, in my unit, on the flag there is this quote, "Don't worry, be happy." So it's really nice. I came to the hospital. I was in full awareness. I didn't pass, often. I didn't lose any conscience. When I came, I was in a lot of pain. But then the doctor came to me and said, "What's your father's phone? We have to tell him." I said, "You're not gonna tell him. I will tell him." And I'm like in so pain, but I said, "I have to tell my father that I am okay, that he's gonna hear my voice." So he said, "Don't worry, I will dial and you will talk." So he did that, and he put the phone, and I was like, "Dad, I'm good, but I'm injured, so come." And eventually, 2 days later, I woke up and found this structure in my leg attached. I was very happy to see that my foot still attached to my body, or reattached to my body. Another fun fact is that, well, now it's fun fact, back then it wasn't so fun. Through the whole process of my rehabilitation, my doctor said, "Listen, Yosef, as much as your expectation, the higher could be the disappointment. So we expect you, top rehabilitation is to walk like this." And I told him from the beginning, I love soccer. That's how you say it. You say football, you say soccer, right? Okay. Fair enough. So I love soccer, so I told him that I will play soccer again, and I will run again. And he said, all right, but again, I have to tell you, keep in mind that probably that's going to happen, and just keep that in mind. So after 1 year, I need to go for one last check with my doctor. So I went inside his office with a football in my hand. I went inside his office, threw the football like this, the ball like this, and started to kick it. And I told him that I'm gonna play soccer, and I do that right now. So, thank you. So this was a very unique place in my life, and from that point, I knew that I am going to do something back to my country. Because they took care of me, and because I love my country. But as you see, I was planning to go to South America, and God planned something else for me. So I decided to focus a little bit on me in the years after the injury, and I traveled the world. I've went to a lot of places, but in those times, I always know when I come back, and I will. Give more to the people, to the society, and to my country. So a year ago, I started my public life, and we founded an organization that called Together, Vouch for Each Other. My organization is the whole process of my organization is to bring the Arab society closer to the Israeli society. And when I'm talking about the Arab society, it's all the Arab society. 1.8 million Arabs, Israeli Arabs, who lives inside Israel, Muslims, Christians, Druze, Bedouin, Cherkess, all of the Arab society, and our organization is actually, in the Knesset there is a political party called the Joint List. And the Joint List, they call themselves the leaders of the Arab society. Well, they're not. They're doing everything besides leading the Arab society. They are getting elected, and then instead of treating our main problems, they go and treat the Palestinian problem. And by the way, they're doing a really bad job at it. So, so eventually we founded this organization so we can actually to be a contra to their political party, and to say that we want to be part of Israel. We want to be a part of the Israeli society, and we want to treat our problems finally, and not some other problems that not concerning us, like violence against women, like illegal weapons, car accidents, education, and more. So eventually we've decided to do that, and I'm happy to tell you that within like 6 months we achieved so many things, better than the Joint List for the last 4 years, and so we are very proud. We are very proud about that. And as part of me as Yosef Haddad, I was very proud to come here with Jonathan and Rowena, and with the organization Reserved on Duty, to speak also about my organization, but also to speak about the Reserved on Duty organization that is doing an amazing job of defending the name of Israel and speaking the truth about Israel. And you know what? We hear a lot of lies on the media and on the social, like Facebook and Twitter, but that's why we're doing that. Before we started, a person came to me and said, what if only one person came and just, hear you, but not, just one person? I said, it doesn't matter how many people comes and hear us, because it takes only one person to talk to in order for him to pass our message to other person, and the other person would pass the message to other person. So just, I don't know, we have like 50, 60 people here. You will pass our message to others and others, and that's exactly how we will beat the lies. Lies like anti-Israeli organizations inside and outside of our country. And to sum up, like Lorena likes to say, I think we have an amazing society, but unfortunately they are a quiet society. I'm talking about the Arab society. They are quiet because they are afraid from the extremists. And we know that the extremists, when they talk, even if they are a minority, they sound like they are the majority. And they're not. But me, Jonathan, and Lorena, we are not afraid. We're not afraid to talk. And not only we're not afraid to talk, we will lead others that are afraid to speak out loudly and to say, yes, we want to be part of Israel, we want to make our society better, and you know what? Every long line starts with only a simple dot, and eventually we will get there. So thank you all for hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yosef. It's I think my fourth or fifth time that I hear Yosef's story, and every time I'm really attached to it because it really comes from a personal way, and that's life in Israel. That's you can meet with everyone in Israel, and he will have his personal story, whether it is in the IDF or whether it is with a different person in the Israeli society. And that's what we are trying to present when we go abroad and we talk about Israel. We call this project the Minorities Project at Reservists on Duty. But we use the word minority only when we are outside of Israel in order to explain our situation. Because in Israel, we are all Israelis. And that's what we are proud to be, and that's what we want other people to understand as well. Yosef mentioned before we start the Q&A, because this is the first question that I think we all have been asked, and we will be asked many times, is aren't you afraid to speak out? And aren't you afraid to say that you support Israel even in like the most dangerous places that you can do that? And I think if we were afraid, none of us would be here tonight. Or we would be sharing our stories through social media, or sharing our stories in the toughest places that you can be, like UC Irvine. I'm kidding. UC Irvine students, not all of you are bad. But I have been to UC Irvine's Apartheid Week. I have been called white. I have been called to go back to Europe, to go back to the gas chambers. One of our delegates were spat on. We were asked to be out of campus. They were shouting Intifada. We support the Intifada inside of the campus. I mean, this is the people that we are dealing with. We're not dealing with common people who just want to understand or have a conversation about it. These are pure anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic people. They have nothing to share that is pro. They're not pro-Palestinians. With pro-Palestinians, we actually have a conversation. At UC Irvine, at the same Apartheid Week, we had a conversation with a person from Gaza. He lives in Gaza, and now he is studying abroad. We had an hour conversation. We didn't yell at each other. We didn't curse each other. We just stood there in the middle of campus, surrounded by about 60 people, but none of them could have follow our conversation because we spoke in Arabic, Hebrew, and English at the same time. They kept on asking us to speak in English, but we wanted to speak in our language. That's what works. And eventually, the thing that, before we start my questions, I want to say to every one of you here, because we do meet people who are afraid to say that they're Jewish on campuses or sometimes in communities. It's not everywhere, it's not all the time, but we do face that. And we do face people who are afraid to say that they support Israel, or even speak out when there is an anti-Israeli activity anywhere. And to those people I want to say, never be afraid to say that you're Jewish, or that you support Israel, because there's only one truth, and the truth is on our sides. And like Yusuf said, we need to share that for every person to hear and for them to pass it on to other people. So after that said, I will stop speaking. And we would like to have your questions. Let's see if this microphone works.
No.
No.
Somebody will have to still no.
Okay.
You can speak up and you
Yalla.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you very much. So, I mean, everything you said, I really I appreciate 100%. So, from visiting a lot of Arab villages in Israel, it's hard not to notice what appears to be a lack of services into your communities, such as, social services, policing services, sanitary services, education, etc. So what is your opinion about it? And I want you to understand, it has nothing to do with apartheid or anything. All it is just, sharing the budgetary cake more equally in Israel as opposed to, let other communities have more than others.
With your permission, Jonathan, I would like to answer, and I'm very happy you asked this question. This is my life work. This is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna ask you a question in a bit. I want you to answer it from your heart, and be honest with me, okay? So, when I said before, I founded the organization Together Vouch for Each Other. In Hebrew, it's ביחד ערבים זה לזה. So there's like double meaning here, because for one, you use it, כל ישראל ערבים זה לזה, and if you read it like without any, how do you say nikud?
Punctuation.
Join.
Punctuation.
So we'll see it could be ערבים זה לזה. Arabs speak to each other. So the reason that we founded this organization is because exactly what you're saying. If you go to the villages, you will see that the situation is not good. You will see that the Arab situation is not really good. So why? But the fact is that it's not good, not because of Israel. It's not good because of the leaders, the Arab leaders in Israel, the joint list. And now, I'm speaking in my organization and in the friends in my organization, speaking exactly about that. So remember that I told you I'm going to ask you a question. So here's what's happening. The 1.1 million Arab people are allowed to vote. Only 45% of them voted to the joint list, which means 55% didn't, by the way, they didn't vote because they have a trust issue with the joint list and with the other lists. So what happened here is that the majority of the Israeli Arab, didn't vote. And the minority, some of them voted because of their family, not because they wanted to vote for the joint list, okay? We need to deal with that. But the fact is that what happened is after they vote for the joint list, because the joint list would say before the election, we are the only voice for you, and we will treat your problems, and we will take care of the violence and the weapons. But when they got elected, and they have the chairs and sitting, and very comfortable in the Knesset chairs, and they're very comfortable with taking about $15,000 per month, something like that, a salary from the taxpayers of the Israeli people, Jewish and Arabs, okay? They stopped treating the Arab society. They sit in the opposition, okay? And they speak about Israel, and they go and they just want to do something for Gaza, and for Ramallah, and for Mahmoud Abbas, and for the Hamas. And when someone in Israel is killed by a terrorist, you will never hear them say something like they condemn that act. So, if you were, okay, in the Knesset, would you help me if I spit on you, curse you? Would you help me? Would you try try to help me? If someone says yes, then you're just lying to yourself. So this is exactly what happens with Israel. But put that aside, okay? Put that aside. If you're asking me about the Arab situation in Israel, compare it to Syria, Lebanon, Iran, oh, we live in heaven. We live in heaven. Eventually, an alternative will come, and eventually, the silent voice and the majority, the reasonable majority of the Arab society will say enough, or as we say, khalas. And we will say khalas. It's coming soon. We have to be patient, but it's coming. And here it goes. It starts with an organization like my organization, and we will move forward, and we will bring more and more people. And I'm telling you, it's silence, because I get the private message from Muslims, Arabs, and Christians. And they say, we support you, we finally want to hear the voice, we're afraid. Go, speak for us. And that's what exactly I'm doing. So that's why this is the situation.
I'd like to ask about the basic law, the nation-state law that just got passed, how you address that when people come and speak to you, and when people say, well, wait a second, that doesn't seem very fair to you guys. And they say that reinforces a secondary status. I'd like to know what your opinion is about it, what changes, if any, you'd like to see made, and how you talk to people who approach you about that law.
That's a burning question.
Especially standing by the
Thank you.
I will just like do a summary of all of us. Lorena was one of the organizers for the Druze the protest against the bill. Yosef as well expressed his concerns about the bill as well. I think I'm in the minority's voice because I really don't think that the national bill could affect the status of minorities in Israel in any way, because we do have another basic clause that makes sure that Israel is democratic and that the minorities and every citizen is being protected under the law. The thing is that mainly I think people are they're not afraid, but they feel that they are left out of just stating the obvious, that Israel is going to be a Jewish and democratic state. None of us have a problem with Israel being Jewish, with being a Jewish state, because it's not, although it's Jewish, it's not run by the halakha, and everyone has his privacy, everyone has his own freedom to express himself and to practice whatever religion he wants, and all of our rights are being protected under the law. It's just this lack of sentence in the bill that is actually making the rise. One of the things that really concerns me, and that's why I do support this bill, is because we have people like Khalid Zawi from the Arab Joint List who is sitting in the Knesset and who tried a few months before the national bill passed to pass a bill who denies the state of Israel the status of being a Jewish state. I think this law will protect in the future the state of Israel from any other country that is trying to take that from Israel and take Israel from existence, and from people within Israel who are trying to destroy it by using its democracy against it. Lorena? Yeah.
Okay, so as I said before that we always say that in Israel we fight for our communities, but abroad we fight for our country. So in Israel, after the national law, I felt that I'm responsible also to defend my community for like, no, I believe that more than 90% of the Druze community, or more than 90% of the Druze community, don't they accept the idea, they know the idea that about the symbols of Israel, about the tikva, about everything. It's not this law. It doesn't did anything, but this law will affect about the status of minorities in Israel, because like we are 25% of the Israeli society, and this law is absolutely ignores the minorities. So
I would like to explain two things about law. First, it's something about the international community and how, you know, I've talked to Jonathan about it, and it was a debate in Facebook. It was like he was messaging in Facebook. I was the same thing, and it was like very funny to see that how we work together at the same time. We could disagree in some things, but it was very beautiful because it started with I respect you and I respect your opinion, but it was like but it was there. So in terms of an international, you know, how you look at it in an international way. I mean, come on, guys. I've, like Lorena and Jonathan, we're on the front of the line when it comes to explain about Israel. And when I was in in America, when I did my tour, it was like a huge tour from New York until LA, and then in Central America and in Europe. A person came to me and said, Israel is apartheid country. And I said, how do you say that Israel is apartheid country when Israel has the Arabic language as an official language? How is it possible? So the law, the national law came and actually took that and put the Arab language in a status, a unique status. Now, the thing is, nothing changed really. It just took it from a status that was, you know, a familiar, same status like as Hebrew, and they put it in a bit lower, just the definition. But the fact that nothing changed in real life. So, for me, it was a bit like a poke in the eye, because if nothing changed and you just reduced the Arab language from official language to a special status, I mean, why you do that? It helps me to represent Israel in a better way, okay? So, I felt that it wasn't needed there. And by the way, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Education, and the Minister of the Treasury, after the law passed, they say, you know what? And especially about the Druze community, where I definitely admire. When I see the Arab society goes, I see them go exactly the way that the Druze community went. And so when the Prime Ministers and the other in the government said that, you know what, maybe the law is not as good as we thought because it offended some really good people who love Israel. So if they say that, I mean, come on. And for me, I don't want to change anything in the law. I just want to add a section in the law. And that section is concerned about her community and about the Israeli Arabs that want to be part of Israel. That's it. One simple section inside that law. Don't want to change anything. Not the fact that Israel is a Jewish country, because Israel is the Jewish and the only democratic country in the Middle East. Okay? And I don't want to change the flag because I love my flag. And you know, America is a Christian country by definition, but everyone here loves the American flag. Come on, show me one person who says I will not pledge to the flag and to the national anthem. So, well, then they are not American.
That's right.
So what I'm saying is, we just need to add a little bit section, small section that takes us into concern. It's an emotion thing, and I think we deserve that, and that's it. Simple.
Just only last sentence about that bill. One of the critics in the world about the national bill was, just a second, I just need to remember that. Oh yeah. Listen to that. The Muslim Republic of Pakistan, that's their official name, said that they condemn the national law who say who say that Israel is a Jewish state. Come on, okay, are you serious? In some ways, I do care about how the international community sees Israel, because eventually it affects everything. That's why we're here. That's why we are sharing personal stories that could, in a way, humanize Israel, because it's being dehumanized all over. In the media, when last week there was a horrific terror attack in a workplace in Israel, where two civilians in Balkan, where two civilians were they were cuffed and butchered in that place. And when the news reported as Israel claims that a Palestinian attacked two Israelis, it really hurts. Because not only that they are trying to lower the effect of this terror that happened, but they're trying to say that, well, it doesn't really matter, because it's Jews, it's Israel. And that's the main problem, that they're not actually facing the truth. In Israel, you can see us debating all over about bills in Israel and about what we think should happen to our communities and how we should make our communities better. But when we look on the Gaza Strip or the West Bank, you hear silence from the international community about how they are being treated by their own government and by a terrorist organization. You can hear them, the human rights activists, say that Mahmoud Abbas is controlling the whole West Bank, and his family actually controlling the economy of the West Bank. There is no LGBTQ rights, there is no women rights, no one is receiving their salaries from the government for at least a year and a half. No one cares. But when it comes to Israel, suddenly all the headlines are attacking. And that's what we're trying to change. That's what we're trying to show, this side of Israel that are not seen almost anywhere in the media and the international community. Last night we heard that Nikki Haley resigned from being the ambassador in the UN, and I can say that it was a sad day in Israel, because we had a true fighter in the worst place that Israel is being treated as the worst. In the Human Rights Council, for example, where the Arab countries are controlling this committee, where they have no women's rights, no minorities' rights, and no one says anything. So I would really hope that in the last of this year, they will appoint someone that is good as Ambassador Nikki Haley, because we really need a defense. I'm not American. I'm proud to be Israeli, and I'm gonna be the UN ambassador of. Yes.
I just, this is the first time I've come to a forum like this, and I appreciate it. I'd like to say two things. First of all, in America, when a person, especially one serviceman, meets another, they say thank you for the country. Just want to say thank you for your service to Israel. And
Amen.
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 Protect your country. I wish we had more people like that, other than our young men and women that are serving in our country now. The other question, since they made the nation's capital of Israel?
Jerusalem.
Thank you. Since they put the
Embassy.
American embassy there, how has that affected your group? Has it helped or not?
I'm going to answer it and then I'm going to give it to you. I think that finally they've moved the official U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. And finally someone just said, this is what it is, and from here we're going to move on. Because Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. All of Israel's official government, the Knesset, the parliament is in Jerusalem. And it's about time that the world will recognize that. And understand that Jerusalem will always be the capital of Israel. We thought that it's gonna turn a huge effect from the Arab world, but eventually it didn't. Because they all do understand that this is the situation. And no one can actually go against it. One thing that I do remember is that your favorite mayor, Ali Salam, the mayor of Nazareth, decided, after Trump decided to move the embassy to Jerusalem, that he's going to cancel Christmas celebrations in his city because of this move. But what turned out later, even like 2 days after that, that suddenly someone said, well, he never had the money to do that festival in the city. So he just like kind of took a ride on like demonstration against the move of the embassy. But because we outed him, I was one of the vocal speakers against him and against his decision. Suddenly he backed down from his decision, and the festival happened in Nazareth because the Christians in Nazareth told him that, no, you're not going to do that. We're going to celebrate, and it's about time that we will stop get bullied to decisions that has nothing to do with us. And that's what is happening today, thanks to work like what Joseph is doing and what Lorena is doing in their communities, because it's starting to make a difference. People are starting to understand that Israel is here to stay. We want to be part of the Israeli society, and we're going to do a lot in order to make it happen.
Well, he deserves a clap, by the way. You know, I want to point something. I think it's obvious. Me and Jonathan are Christians, so in the Bible they say about Jesus that he came to his people and his people denied him. Now, put that aside. This is not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is if Jesus came to his people 2,000 years ago, 2018 years ago, and he was born in Jerusalem, and his people is Jewish people, so who was first there? The Jews. So the capital of Israel is Jerusalem. Sum it up.
Just want to say to you guys, kol hakavod, you are brave people, and nobody else can do the job better than you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You use the word extremist,
Yes.
and then you say they're or the minority. Is that correct?
You're talking about the minority, the extremists, and they're a minority.
The Muslims.
I'm talking about extremists in all sides. But if you want to say extremists, we're talking about the Arab extremists. It could be also Muslims, it could be Cherkessian, Druze, Bedouin, or Christian.
Specifically, I'm addressing the Muslim sect or group.
Okay.
And the media refers to the jihadists as extremists. Is that not correct?
So far correct?
How can they be an extremist when the Quran specifically, Surah 9, specifically 9.5, 9.56, kill them, the infidels, wherever you find them. Commands all Muslims to do this. So if you're
I'm not here, I will explain why.
Unbelievable.
No, I will explain a bit why.
I hope you can. I've studied Islam for 17 years. I know the Quran, I know the Hadith, the Sahih Hadith of Al-Bukhari. I know the Sharia. Sharia defines jihad as what etymologically is derived from the Arabic word mujahada, wada, which is defined according to the Sharia as warfare. Warfare to extend the religion.
All right.
How do you reconcile this?
Have you heard about Rambam Hospital?
Second?
Have you heard about the Rambam Hospital in Haifa?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'll explain why I'm saying that. Rambam Hospital is the most amazing place to see what's going on really there. In Rambam Hospital, you have Arab doctors, and you have Arab nurses, and you have Jewish doctors and Jewish nurses. You have Arab patients, and you have Jewish patients. Sometimes you will see a Jewish doctor treat an Arab person, and sometimes you will see a Muslim doctor treating a Jewish patient. So, if you tell me that the doctor who's saving lives of Arab Muslims and Christians and Jewish, that he's an extremist and he's bound to the Quran, then I have to tell you, you need to come with me to Israel and I will show you a special tour, and you will see that most of the Muslims, the Arab Muslims in Israel, they love their life. They just want to wake up in the morning, go to their job, raise their children, travel a little bit in Israel and in the world, go back to sleep, wake up the same thing next morning. Exactly what I'm talking about. Christians, Muslims, Jews, Cherkessi. You're going to hear me all the way saying that. Bedouin, Jews, doesn't matter if you're religious or not. All Israelis want the same thing. But here's a fact. Extremists, there's also on all sides, also here in America. No, 2 weeks ago, I was in the European Union. And I was addressed by the media, and they told me that, but who you're fighting for? Because in Israel right now, in Afula, they don't want Arabs to live next to them. So I told them that in order to resolve the problems, we need to do it among us. I can assure you, 500%, no one will deny me to live in Afula. No one. And that's why, it's because I want to be part of Israel, I want to be part of the society, and I believe with all my heart that I'm Israeli, and I'm proud to be Israeli. And like me, there's a lot. But they're not talking. As I said again, I'm talking right now. But no worries. Like me, Jonathan, Lorena, I'm more and more speaking.
But you say there are 1.1 million Arabs.
Yes.
And you are in Israel.
Yes, I'm Israeli.
A democratic country.
For sure.
And you are protected.
So?
There are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. Very few are Arab, but they are commanded by the Quran to kill infidels.
I'm sorry, but it's not true. I'm really sorry to say that. It's not true.
I'll bring you.
Sure,
not.
No. I understand. You have to understand something. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you must understand something. You can, how do you say, interpret yes, you can do the Quran or the Bible or the Torah as you like. But the facts are there. We are, it's funny. When we fight our fight, we do it with facts. I don't care what it's saying there. The fact is, there is billion of Muslims. And just 2% of them, if they are terrorists, that's a lot. And that's why you think that. And it's okay. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm Christian, I'm not Muslim. And I'm here to tell you, you got it wrong. I'm sorry. Because in France, there is also Muslim doctors. They don't want to do what they're doing right now, the extremist jihadists. And I will say that at any time. And you know what? This is a fact. Just go travel the world and see those Muslim people who are wanting to be just part of this beautiful world. But I do agree with you that there is extremists. And those extremists, we need to treat them and we need to treat them well. And we will do that. Israel, United States, I don't care. Extremists must be treated like they are. But they're the extremists. The convoys, you know what? We should help them. And we should support them. And that's exactly what we're doing inside Israel right now.
I'm always adding one sentence and then I speak for like 20 minutes, but I want to end this with the story of one of my dearest friends. Her name is Kay Wilson. She was attacked in a terrorist attack in the mountains of Jerusalem 6 years ago. Her friend, Christine Loken, American, was killed in that attack. She was stabbed about 11 to 15 times. And she always shares her story, and she says that once she came to the hospital, she was in the operating room. And before her eyes closed because of the oxygen that she was taking, she heard, "Ahmed, bring me the knife." That was the doctor who actually saved her life after being attacked by extremists. And she always says that this is the point where I understood that we can't blame everyone for one man's mistake. But what we have to do is to condemn them and to make sure that the majority, that our silent majority, speaks out and condemn that as well. In the operation 2014, another dear friend of mine, Muhammad Zali, he spoke against the kidnapping of the 3 children that was discovered. They were killed by the Hamas terrorist organization. And she was the one protecting him 6 months in her own house because he was threatened for doing so. And that's what leads me today as well. We can't judge a whole people because of 1% or 2% or even 15% who are extremists. But we have to do everything in our power in order to condemn that and change it. Yes.
So as a student on a college campus, and you guys probably have so much more because you've been to so many different college campuses. Luckily in San Antonio we don't have such a huge SJP, but they are present and they're growing. But most times, they're very volatile and they say a bunch of horrible things, but they're so focused on the minorities of Israel and they put so much emphasis on this apartheid state. But I guess my question is, why do you think that they don't focus on the Palestinians actually, like things that are actually happening inside the West Bank or inside of Gaza? They're always so focused on Israel and what Israel does wrong and don't ever talk about any history or any fact about Hamas or anything like that.
They don't care about the Palestinians.
Nope.
They never cared about the Palestinians. When I asked the SJP chapter in Houston, I was here. That's why we were here 2 years ago, because we were actually in apartheid week there. We were speaking in Arabic. I asked her, well, what do you have to say for the Palestinians who are suffering For 70 years, Palestinians have been suffering in the Arab world. In Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and everywhere they go. In the Arab world, they are suffering. They're living in refugee camps, not even as second-class citizens because they're not citizens. They are denied of citizenship. They can apply. They can't even apply to that. If you want to talk about Lebanon, they can't be doctors, they can't be lawyers, they can't, even when they get married to Lebanese citizens, they will not get citizenship. They can't go to the same schools as Lebanese.
Has closed 75,000 Palestinians in a ghetto by a wall. None of the Arab media or the international media, the UN didn't call for an emergency committee to talk about the situation of Palestinians in Lebanon, because no one actually cares about the Palestinians. Only Israel, when we see that Israel is taking care of them medically, when we see that Israel is now even treating Syrians on the border between Israel and Syria, when we see Israel traveling all over the world to help when there is a catastrophe, but no one actually cares about that either. Because they only want to look about what Israel does wrong, to attack it, and then to say that it doesn't have a right to exist.
So as a follow-up, how do students, Jewish students or pro-Israel students on campus, how do you fight that when they're not willing to talk about it, or they're not open for dialogue? How do you explain that on behalf of the Palestinians when everyone sees we're not pro-Palestinian, if that makes sense? That's what they view us as.
Well, first of all, you can invite us to your campus.
Invited.
Oh, okay.
Bobby to the rescue.
Yeah. Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We always say there's 10% that is complete anti-Israelis, there's 10% that complete pro-Israelis, and there's 80% in the middle. These are the people that we are targeting. Although, I'm sure that 100% of you here are on the 10%, but the reason that we do these kind of events as well is because we want to give you more information for you to use. So you need to target the 80% who are unaware of the situation at all and don't even care about it. But our problem is, especially on college campuses, is that you are the future of this country. You're going to be the senators, you're going to be the legislators, you're going to be in a key position that could affect all of our lives in the world and in Israel as well. So, for example, let's take one politician that now won the Democratic nominee in the 17th district in New York, Cortez.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx, yeah. She were asked in one of her interviews about Israel, what she thinks about Israel, and she said, well, I do feel the Palestinians, they're being occupied by Israel.
Is that Nelson? No, that's the young one.
Yeah.
The socialist.
No,
Oh,
she
the
answered
socialist.
it, and then afterwards, when she was asked in particular, what do you mean by being occupied, and what do you mean about the Palestinians? She said, well, I don't really know in geopolitics.
Right.
I don't want to interfere in UN politics, but this is the problem. She is one of the college campuses now, people to run for office, and she just heard on her campus people saying that Israel is occupying Palestine and Israel is harming the Palestinians. And once you actually ask her, what do you think about it, she doesn't really know. So these are the people that we need to target and talk to and give them as more information as we can. More than that, if they are in the middle of the things and you are shouting and they are shouting at you, confuse them. If you can't beat them, confuse them.
I saw a video of a woman, she's like a vlogger, and Yeah, so it's okay. So she went and asked Americans a funny question. What do you think about Israel occupying south of Spain?
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
And they answered, oh yeah, Israel is an apartheid country, and they should withdraw from the land of South Spain. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So, you know, I think basically this is the answer. There's people that really don't really understand, just talk to them and they show them the real facts. Yes, please.
So I just want to say thank you as well for speaking. But my question is also about the Arab extremists. So I think it would be good for, I think it would be appropriate for Yosef to answer the question. I'm not sure, but whoever can answer it. So the question is, you talk about bringing the Arab extremists to just, to get together just like the Jews. So how do you intend to do that?
No, what I said is that I wanted the reasonable voice in the Arab society to bring them closer, just like Jews to the Israeli society. And after we do that, we will become the majority, okay? And then they will see the extremists, or at least a huge part of the extremists, they will see that it's good. Now, for sure, extremists will stay extremists, but my target is, and my mission is to reduce it, to reduce this percentage. So first, we go to the reasonable common voice, which they are a silent majority. After that, we will start taking part of the easy extremists towards the majority of the common voice, and then we will be the majority, and then we will not hear their voices because we will be stronger.
Okay, but the question is, why do they do that? Why do the leaders get into the Knesset parliament?
Why do you have extremists here in the United States? Why do you have extremists in South America and Europe?
No,
this is who we are as human beings. But
why do they do that? Get into leadership and then
because
not
okay, so why they are elected to the Knesset?
They get elected and then they just don't care about their own people.
Oh yeah, this is how it goes.
Why?
Because most of the Arab society do not vote. Like most is 55%, and the other 45% is some of them is just voting because dad is voting to this party, and he says vote. So he will vote, although he is not accepting that, but he will vote. And I am for sure familiar with an activist from the political joint list party who brings a bus to a neighborhood and says, guys, get up on the bus and vote. But they don't want to vote, leave them alone. But he will, so they will come and just take them to vote. So this is how it works. This is how it works. But now what we are doing is making them the awareness. We are doing that exactly. Like we have to raise the awareness of that, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. As I said before, it takes time. It takes time. We need to be patient, but we are seeing that it's going to the right direction, step by step.